system, you can handle the heat.
Booyakasha! Welcome back to another episode of If You Can't Handle the Heat. It's your boy G Swizz. Join with me, Jokesy. Jokesy, how we feeling, brother?
I'm feeling fired up, baby.
That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. Micah, how you feeling, my man?
Feeling good, baby.
Alrighty. Well, this is not, like I said, anytime I say this is always some big news. This is not just a normal podcast anymore. We're big time, baby. We're big time. Before I get there, I want to kind of start this podcast off with a hot fact. We're going to start doing that every single podcast. This week's fact, comment down below what you think the name of our hot fact should be. Those who groom are more likely to engage in or receive sex. Now, if you want that to be you, this is a perfect time to introduce our latest partnership with Manscaped. Joe, what do you got in your hand right there, man? What is that? What is that? Speak to the people.
I got the Lawnmower 4.0 right here. The newest and latest and greatest. Dude, I swear to God, ever since I use it over my face, use it for everything. And it is the greatest razor of it. I'm not just saying that just to say it. I thought when I got it, I was just going to be like a normal razor, and I was just going to be like,
What makes it so good?
Dude, it cuts so, it just glides across the skin, and it trims so tight. Actually, dude, I swear to God, I wouldn't just say that. I swear to God, dude, it just glides across the skin, and it just, anything you need to be cut, it just, whoop, straight off. Any length, has different clips.
Do you remember having Joe, the impersonations that we'd have Jake McSlunks do of Joe? The liquid IV ones?
But actually, dude, and also, they sent us a bunch of stuff. And in this package, Gage is going to talk about the promo code in a second here, but you get Crop Reviver Bald Toner. I'm not exactly sure what it is meant to do, but it tones.
We're going to find out.
Sure. And Ball Deodorant. Dude.
I've been using that.
The thing, yeah, and Gage has been getting after it with both these things, and I haven't felt this good top down in a long time. So,
top to bottom.
Dude, I
Bush to brows.
I swear to God, I'm not just saying this, dude. The Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0, it is hands down the best razor I've ever used, and it's worth.
And
I think it's worth.
It's a perfect month too.
It is.
No Shave November.
It's a perfect month. No Shave November. Well, it's actually not a perfect month.
At the end of this month,
but it is because you have some time to order it, and then hopefully you have some time to have some fun. I'm always a big fan of changing up the facial hair. It's the way I think it's the way I express my creativity, honestly.
Now you could.
I'm not lying. Zana always is like,
mustache.
"Why do you do this?" And I'm like, just express how I'm feeling. She's like, no.
That's true.
And I'm like, I'm serious. I just carefree. I just maybe I'll go half of my face beard, half my face no beard.
Dude,
I did it in France.
Now you can express yourself downstairs, not just upstairs, but now because you have that
everywhere
perfect control now.
I might not need to go to a haircut anymore.
Exactly.
I might just do my hair, buzz cut my hair.
Your balls will thank you, as it says. Your balls will thank you.
They're thanking me right now. Guys, support for Out of Systems, If You Can't Handle the Heat podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers precision engineering tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. Joe, show it again one more time. You heard that right. Lawnmower 4.0.
Anything that has a 4.0 has got to be pretty legit.
Exactly.
They've gone through 4 different versions.
Micah, let me throw another 4 at you. Let me throw another 4 at
you.
Whoa. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trusted Manscaped with this exclusive offer to you. 20% off. I said 20% off. And free worldwide, whether you're in Poland, Germany, Bulgaria, US, Canada, it doesn't matter. Free worldwide shipping with the code VOLLEYBALLS. All capped at manscaped.com.
Really? Free worldwide shipping?
20%.
People in Poland and Bulgaria
free worldwide
and Germany?
shipping, volleyball.
This is your chance because Lord knows how expensive shipping is international.
It's true.
People don't understand. If you're in the States, okay. If you're not, use everybody use the promo code.
Exactly.
But if you're not and you don't, that's a costly mistake.
Exactly.
That is a costly mistake.
And it's not only easy to get, it's easy to use because it is waterproof. It does have an LED light. Bam. So you're in the shower. You don't want to get, usually I'm shaving out in the bathroom. Got to pick up my hair, flush it down the toilet, put it in the trash or something. No. I go in the bathroom. I go in the shower. Bam. Good to go. Easy as that.
Did you also say 4 million men?
4 million.
That's a lot.
4 million. It's true.
Get on the train, people.
It's true.
Get on.
Exactly.
4 million?
Leaving the station.
Let's find a small country that has 4 million people in it.
And we're going to give them, we'll send the promo code again. Volleyballs, all cap. 20% off. Free worldwide shipping. Join the Manscaped.
No, this can't be right.
There's plenty.
This isn't right.
There's plenty. All right, well, guys, again, you heard Volleyballs, 20% off, free worldwide shipping. Now, again, we're going to have a guest on this show. We're going to have the Micah Christenson. Welcome him on all the way from Russia. Luckily, we got him on. He's always a fun guy to mind to dissect because he's been on all stages of volleyball, except the lowest probably. Except when he maybe was in beginning volleyball. But he's been at the top of the top. He's been at every event. We're going to pick his mind about family life.
Fun
We're
fact.
going to pick his mind. Yeah.
I think my first men's volleyball team, because I played on some women's teams when I was really young, on my cousins' teams and stuff like that. I don't know how I got on those teams. But my first men's volleyball team, I was on Micah Christenson's team.
Well, with that being said, let's welcome on Micah's
That was a great fun
ex-teammate,
fact.
Micah Christenson. We're now joined here by two-time Olympian, Team USA setter, and Zenit Kazan setter, Micah Christenson. Micah, thank you so much for hopping on the pod, my man.
No problem, fellas. Anytime. It's always a pleasure.
Dude, always a pleasure to have you. Well, first off, can you give a little background on where you are, what team you're playing for? Well, I introduced the team, but just a little background on where you're at right now.
Yeah, so I am in Kazan, Russia, playing for Zenit Kazan. It's my first year in Russia. Actually, it's my first year anywhere but Italy. So I've spent 6 years in Italy, 3 years in Civitanova, Lube Civitanova, and then 3 years in Modena. So new experience, man. I'm liking it so far. I've been here for maybe a month and a half now, solo, waiting for the family to come. With some complications on visas, you know how that goes. Well,
That's so crazy.
I'm learning how that goes because
They just can't get them over there.
So there's like a whole process we need to go to get these visas. I needed to get mine first because I'm the worker, like
Right.
The specialist or whatever, and then they're my family. So once I get my visa, then they can start processing there.
Okay.
And so we learned that at first we're like, okay, these are the documents you need. We gave them all a month and a half ago. They're like, actually, now this one doesn't work anymore. This one doesn't work. So you need this, this, and that. And so we needed to get. So they're like, okay, we can get that, but now you need new American. We got birth certificate. They're like, you need to get the birth certificates apostilled or whatever. And we're like, okay, cool, we got those. And then we bring them to the apostille, and they're like, oh, these are not like official birth certificates. So you guys need to get the official birth certificates.
you need the original, the OG.
Bro.
Oh my!
Doesn't make sense.
I feel like Zenit.
It's signed by a doctor, not the. It was signed by the doctor at the hospital, not by the like state or
oh my goodness.
City that you're in. So it can't be apostilled. Yeah. Gage, dude, sounds like you've had some experience.
Oh, dude, 2 days before our first match, they're like, "Oh yeah, Gage, your criminal record didn't work." I'm like, "What? What do you mean my criminal record isn't through? We can't." They're like, "You can't get your visa." I'm like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "You've had this thing since July, and you're telling me now?" Like, "Oh, we need the stamp. We need the stamp." So then I have to email FBI. I'm still going through this. All right, on the deal. I don't know how I'm playing. I don't think I have my visa yet, but I'm playing. I got my certificate somehow, some way. Bulgaria, it's different over here, but I'm still in the process of talking to the FBI right now and everything to get my criminal record because I need I haven't done anything.
The FBI, not the FIVB.
But dude, they need the stamps. They need this and they need that. Dude,
the FBI,
I'm in contact with
stamps, bro.
Yeah, dude, the FBI, bro.
What?
Dude, oh man. It's wild. It's so wild, man. It's like the way they do. I mean, you get it. Like, I mean, what? Well, we're on this topic here. What's like the differences between like living in Italy and living in like Russia?
Well, first of all, you said on the DL on a public podcast, so
Oh yeah, I don't care.
tough to keep it down there. But
Freaking stupid.
Low key, high key.
Hawaiians watching,
Yeah,
keep it on
for
the
real.
DL.
Hey, don't tell anybody. Like super low key, but like it's just a personal conversation.
We're gonna post on YouTube, DL. Just keep that in mind.
I feel like Kazan would be
I mean,
able
they
to
wouldn't
pull
even
some
know.
strings over there. I feel like they're rolling with some big boys
Yeah.
over there.
Kind of. I've been told they.
It's
have
not coming
been,
through.
but it's at the end of the day, it's government stuff. You know, it's like you can't jump through certain hoops. This is what I've been told.
Right.
I don't know
right,
for
right.
sure. You know.
No, I'm
But,
sure they're doing everything they can.
But we're getting
Okay.
close.
And you have a
We're getting
second son
close.
too.
So
Congrats on
yeah,
that,
bro.
bro.
He's yeah, thank you, bro. It's crazy. He is growing super fast. He's so different already
Dang.
since I've seen him last. So, but I see him every
Okay.
day, right? So
What's his name? I haven't even heard.
Thankfully,
I
we
haven't
get
even
that.
like. I've been out of the loop.
his name is Quinn McCaw Christenson.
Quinn, Zeke and Quinn. Oh, they're gonna be at the
Quinn,
bottom of the
Zeke and
alphabet.
Quinn, dude.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, they got
those
the weird
letters.
letters, dude. Right on, right
yeah.
on.
Yeah, he's tough. He's already got his big brother beating up on him.
Oh,
on
100%.
accident. Yeah, mostly on
100%, 100%. Yeah,
So he's
yeah.
pretty tough.
And how old is Zeke?
But Gage.
Super fast.
Okay, go ahead, Mike. Zeke is
Okay.
3. Yeah, but now we don't even keep.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
keep
okay,
track of
Zeke's
months
3.
anymore. He's 3.
Okay.
And the other one is Quinn is almost 5 months. He'll be 5 months in like
Okay,
4
dope.
days or whatever.
You were gonna answer Gage though,
okay.
yeah.
But to answer your question, Gage, yeah, my bad.
you're getting right,
Difference
Christian.
between Italy and Russia so far?
Yeah,
That's what
like
the question
living
is?
wise and just like what not what you, I mean, you're not long enough there to see what you really prefer, but just like I don't know, culture shocks and things that you're like luxuries that you did and didn't have.
Yeah, I definitely think things are more modern in Russia than in Italy. I think Italy's more of like a proud historic culture. They're like, we have a ton of history. We've been doing things like this for a long time. It's so rich in culture. So we're doing it this way and we're going to continue to do it this way. And Russia's like, bro, I can get groceries. I can order groceries online to get delivered to my front door over here if I wanted to. Like it's pretty technologically advanced, which I was surprised about. I didn't know that, or I was pleasantly surprised on the availability. And there's like a necessity for that now. We'll get into that later. Remind me about the QR code vaccination stuff over here. But yeah, it's impossible. But differences. Oh man. Oh, in Italy, I could speak the language.
Right.
Like very comfortably.
Right.
And so here it is much more difficult. It's like a restart, right? You're like a baby again. And I can't like get treatment with my trainer and just talk story with him.
And is the
I'll have
alphabet
to.
throwing you off too?
Bro.
Because you can't
I
even
tried to
like
study.
piece together.
No, here, let me show you.
Exactly. Like, yeah, you're struggling.
Yeah, like
You want me to tell you what this says?
Yeah.
Supradin.
Supradin.
dude, that
So
looks
an
so
H-
similar to Bulgarian. That looks so
There's
similar.
no S.
Yeah, it's probably
anywhere.
similar.
There's no D, I, or N, or literally.
Yeah.
This is a
I'm
good
lost.
example.
I'm lost. Yeah, I'm lost.
It's a good
there.
example.
I'm
It's similar
lost.
to Bulgarian though, Gage, from what I understand.
I'm so lost all the time. They're like, do you know how to pronounce this? I'm like, this, and it's just completely different. It's just like, and then the similar letters that you recognize are just pronounced so different. I'm just like, dude, I'm still so lost. I'm starting to get better and better at it, but just like, and then they get mad. They're like, you don't know Bulgarian. We're just gonna start speaking just Bulgarian. I'm like, how can you expect me to learn Bulgarian in 2 months here? Like it's just so different. So we talked a little about the family, but one thing that we never talked about in this podcast or with anyone else who has a family living overseas is what's the family life like overseas? Like, is it I mean, because like you see a lot of stuff, like a lot of, I mean, you're asking a lot of your partner and your family, you know? And then obviously when you get older, you're right? The kids are getting older, and it's like, okay, do I want to keep doing this? What was like the initial conversation with when you had with your wife, like you're saying, hey, come overseas, and what's like the difficulties, and so I mean, maybe the unknown good things that come out of it.
Yeah, it was scary at first, especially for her, because she's a very like hardworking, goal-oriented person. So she was like, graduate college, go get my nursing master's degree in nursing, and she's a registered nurse. She's like, look, I'm ready to work if we need to. So she's excited, like it's saying something like she's excited to get back home to wherever we're going after volleyball is finished and start working. And you know, like,
yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
Like that's just a testament to kind of her character or whatever. So that was difficult at the beginning to be like, well, I'm not going to work. I can't work in Italy because communication, like you got to be fluent in the healthcare. Like I'm dying is an important, like,
like, wait, what, do you speak English?
Like a little slower. I can't breathe. Yeah. So that wasn't an option. And so she was just learning to kind of rediscover herself in that moment as well, right? And to be independent in different ways. And so we got into the swing of things. We got, this is when we were younger, with no kids, and it was like we were getting to explore different places or cook a lot. We cooked a lot, and we still love cooking. We cook a lot, but we cook like nicer meals. Now it's just like kids, simple and fast.
Right.
But something we talk about a lot, even now, is when we're overseas, it's just us for 99% of the year. And so we get to spend super quality time together with no sense of obligation to go and see cousin James and Auntie Shelly, like we love going and seeing family in the summertime, but there's like sections of like, okay, this is family time. This is when we could just overflow with family time. And then towards the end of the summer, it's like, I can't wait to get to just spend some alone time with you and cruise and not have to do a whole lot of stuff,
Totally.
And to get that quality time. And now with kids, even more so, it's like, okay, I wouldn't trade the grandparents and the cousins and aunties and uncles time for the world. Like that's our favorite part of the year. But there are incredible positives to be able to be over here with them all the time, putting them to bed every night, taking them to school and whatnot. It's and spending that quality time. So there are pros and cons for sure, but we tend to try to always look towards the pros.
Right.
You have to 100%.
You have to
with this lifestyle. It's crazy because I was I've brought this up. No, I brought it up and some other people brought it up when the NBA, and you're a big NBA guy, when the NBA guys were in the bubble and like they just wouldn't shut up about how like hard it was. And then I had seen that the overseas basketball community had like kind of taken some shots at them and like, guys, like you're in the Disney resort with like all you can eat, whatever. Like we've been over here in quarantine, like still stuck over here for 8 months. We don't even speak the language. Like you guys are like, it's just such a joke. And then LeBron's like, yeah, I can't see my family. And like, here you are in Russia. You're 2 months going now without seeing your family. And like, you never know when they're going to show up. And the life we live is just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's all relative, right? It's like, those guys are a whole different level. And then you have us, which is, obviously money is incomparable, like living situation incomparable. But then you have other people that are working normal jobs over in Bulgaria,
right,
or in Russia. And you're like, they're looking at us like, dang, you guys got it good.
100%.
Like you are living the VIP life. And
so super true.
And so I think like going back to like looking at the pros, I even like sometimes I'll just make up pros, and I'll talk myself into, yeah, oh, this is a cool positive. Even though I'm like, in the beginning, I'm like, yeah, this is whatever. I'm like, actually, it is really cool.
Yeah, 100%,
you know, like,
100%.
You gotta talk yourself into it. You gotta make it up sometimes, and then slowly but surely you make yourself believe it actually is true, and then you're bragging about it to other people.
For sure.
Did you ever feel like bad, like asking so much for from your significant other at all, or was it just kind of like she just kind of was like, you know what, it was like whatever happens, or no, whatever punches come our way, we're just gonna roll with it?
Yeah, I think I give a whole lot of credit to Brooke. I think we've definitely had some hard conversations. I think she's definitely had to sacrifice way more than I have, and that's an understatement. But she is so supportive, and she's so able to roll with the punches. And also, we've learned together to kind of look towards the positives and look how beneficial this is and how unique this is in experiences in life, and how that will affect not only ourselves but our kids' lives, with just gaining perspective into the world that we live in, and then not only this little bubble in Hawaii or America that we're in. It's super, super valuable. So we definitely, it's not easy, but how often do you get to, if we're back in America, we have this discussion quite a bit when things get a little harder and we get like emotionally a little harder. If we're back in America, what would we probably be doing? She'd be working as a nurse. I'd be working, let's say in theory, at 9 to 5. How often would we get to see our kids? Kids would be in daycare, and mom would be on an overnight shift, wouldn't be able to put her kids to sleep, and dad would be gone and only being able to have dinner and put the kids to sleep. So like just that in and of itself, like we get to spend such quality time with our kids and watch them every day grow up. Like it's a pretty spectacular situation, although there's so many different negatives that you can look at, to be able to like compare it to where we could be. It's a pretty incredible thing. And so we kind of come back to that. But yeah, in short, yes, there have been a lot of emotional conversations, hard nights and moments where it's like, I could be doing this, or, I miss my family. I wish we had a little more help here, because you can't just call grandma and grandpa when you're in the middle of Russia.
Yeah, Jesus.
Like I'm sick, babies are sick, I haven't slept. Like, can you come over and watch them for a little bit? That stuff, those luxuries aren't afforded as much, but it's also like an experience that we have that makes us stronger, that makes our kids stronger. And we like to think of it as a positive.
That's true.
Yeah, such a good way to look at it.
So when you go to all right, so you wrapped season up, and now you're you spend the summer or most of the summer in Team USA gym and everything like that. So what happens then, like with your family? And do you guys rent a house, or like what happens with most of the guys there? Because I know like
most of the guys, most of the guys' experience is they'll like either rent a place or Airbnb a place.
Okay.
Which is pretty tough, because short-term rentals for 3 months or whatever are either impossible to find or extremely expensive. So that's always a difficult situation in and of itself for most people. I don't have that problem because my in-laws live in Redondo Beach and we train in Anaheim, so that's like an hour north. And so Brooke and I and our kids, we have now room at their house to stay with them throughout the summers, and that works out both ways. Of when I'm gone for various tournaments, whatever, she's able to be with her parents and get a lot of help and spend that quality time. So I'm very lucky in the sense that I also don't have to pay rent at that place. Like, obviously we pull our own weight, but yeah, I'm very lucky. The only thing is I drive like an hour to an hour 15 every day. one way, but that's a tiny little price to pay.
So worth it.
That Tesla is coming soon, maybe after this, after
Bruh.
maybe
Oh
the self-drive,
I've
bro.
I've had this conversation with myself for like 2.5 years straight, bro. And
I guarantee
Brooke,
it, yeah.
if Brooke was watching this, she would be crying, laughing, but also annoyed. Like, oh, you're revisiting this again.
It's such a gimme. It's such a gimme.
It is, but oh, Frank, we don't need to. I mean, that's a lot of money for just 3 months out of the year.
For sure.
Year. That's the only thing. But
Yeah,
gosh,
that's true.
Our car sounds good.
Yeah, that's true.
I get jealous of people that have cars in America.
Dude, or any sort of like a little bit of stability.
Stable things.
Yeah. Anything that like you have an address you can ship to.
A bike.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, bro, you got a bike? Like, that's
yours?
legit. That's legit.
Your bike? Wow.
That's legit.
Exactly.
So, speaking of, since we're talking about timelines and whatnot, I was just wondering, so what is your personal like timeline in terms of how long you want to play pro and how many Olympics you're going to go to and how many more Olympics and then the rest of the Team USA and what their plans are?
Gosh, I wish I knew anybody else's plans. I don't.
That's true.
I'm trying to talk Eric into finishing with me. But my goal is to finish in 2028. Mm-hmm. That's 2 more Olympics. That's my goal. Now, will my body agree with it? We'll see. I think it will, but you never know. And so that's my goal. That's kind of almost an agreement I have with my wife of let's make it
I feel like
here.
you're gonna have to have some like sort of.
Oh yeah.
You have just a lot riding on your. It's not just like, oh, let's see how it goes. Like, I'm just gonna take it year by year. Like, no, like you need to give me a day.
No.
And like I'm counting down the days. Yeah, for sure.
That's the agreement.
For sure.
That's also like it brings clarity to me as well, right? It's like 35 years old. Will I have the desire to come back and play? Probably. But will I always have that desire? Probably. Mm-hmm. It's just when my body will tell me that I can't.
True.
So once I have some clarity and a light at the end of the tunnel, then maybe that helps make that decision a little easier.
Yeah.
And, every time we go back to Hawaii, we go and stay at my parents' house. That is now our house. And we daydream of the life after volleyball.
Yeah.
And so that is also a very appealing thing when you think of like, okay, 35, hopefully I'd have gone to 4 Olympics and had a long career. That's the idea.
Yeah.
And I always pose up the question like, Brooke, like, what if X amount of dollars 1 more year? Like, well, maybe this and that.
Yeah.
And she hasn't like slammed the door on it, so I'm like, interesting.
Yeah.
So, what does life look like after you retire? Is that coaching, or what are you gonna be doing now?
Oh, bro, let me tell you, my dream is to be daddy daycare, house dad.
Really?
That is the dream. That is the dream right there.
Dude, I feel like you're gonna find something else to apply yourself to 100%.
I'm absolutely gonna have to. But not feeling the pressure or obligation to put food on the table is the goal of like pursue what I'd like to do if it's for free, if I'm doing it for free, or if I'm getting paid handsomely for it. Be able to do what my passion would be at that time, what would almost fill that competitive void as well.
Right.
So I always tell her like, you gonna be the sugar mama when we're done, and I'll make the peanut butter and jellies and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I got you, girl. I got you.
I will hold it down. Let's go. But I mean, so that's why, we dream. Our goal and our dream is to go back to Hawaii and kind of remodel the house a little bit and do all that kind of stuff. And so that's a big part of our plans, but we'll see where everything takes us. But to be honest, I don't know specifically what I want to do, but I have a lot of ideas of what I think I would like. But it's hard to say. I've had this conversation actually recently with one of my best friends, who's in the workforce, Lishki, Micah,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
and he was just like, I try to find those things that can fill that competitive void a little bit from, even just being a collegiate athlete, but especially like professional athlete, day in and day out. Like, this is your job to
Yeah.
compete and play sports. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, I won't know how big that void is until it's there. So I can't really plan for it. I can have an idea, but I don't know how big or small it's going to be. Like,
Right.
do I sign up for a ping pong league and that's it? Or
now you're talking.
or,
Now you're
or
talking.
do I have to do a bunch of different things, wake up at 5 a.m. and work out and do it, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
I don't know. And that's going to be the learning process. And I think I'm fully aware of it's going to take a little time.
It's exciting though.
figure
It's
that
like a
out.
double life. Like,
So
you
exciting.
totally start again, and you're just like, wow, I need to
Good
like
options too.
find out what life is like outside of
Get a
volleyball.
Tesla.
And-
It's exciting and it's scary at the same time.
For sure, yeah.
Because, well, you want to be able to figure it out faster than slower.
Right.
sooner rather than later.
Yeah. You want to know.
So that's the scary part of like okay, like hopefully not getting to that time where, okay, it's time to figure it out. Like,
Right.
like you've had your,
Right.
your grace period. Now,
Like, your parents are
stop
knocking
going
on your
and
door,
surfing.
telling you like trying to
Exactly.
have a meeting, telling you, all right,
Yeah.
it's time.
Time to do college application.
It's time for you to do
finally.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's much more exciting than it is scary, because it's a second life, right? It's like, obviously
Totally.
we've lived the incredible experience and lifestyle that is like professional volleyball and professional athlete in general, but very on paper that doesn't affect a whole lot of your second life. I think it affects your dynamic in wherever you go after, in terms of job dynamic and work dynamic and group and leadership and all of those things.
I see what you're saying.
But on paper,
But yeah, we have nothing to show for.
no. I have
Yeah,
a college
yeah.
degree.
Right.
and no
Totally.
experience.
Okay. Yeah, 100%. It's such an odd, like, it would be tough. I think that's why we tend to find unconventional jobs, because it's tough. You're not going to step in on a Wall Street at like 36. Well, maybe you can, but it's just
Maybe
a little
you
bit
can.
tougher of a route. Like, what is the movie? The Internship? Those guys that go to Google. Have you seen that?
Yes.
It's like those guys that are
Yes.
like interns at
Owen
Google.
Wilson.
At like, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's kind of like the volleyball, the post volleyball athlete. It's like those two guys showing up, just like, yeah, we have not much to show.
Yeah, but it's like
Yeah.
if they're like on the resume, they're like, how much life experience do you have? Just write just all of it. I got all the experiences.
They had
all of
on that in that movie they had the funniest interview, because the guys like it's kind of hard to explain, but they had to like get out of the blender as a nickel. Do you remember this,
Right.
Micah? And they gave like the funniest explanation, and the one guy's like, that was so ridiculous that we should probably take him, because it was just
Yeah.
so out of this world.
Dude, I played 1 year. I mean, I'm not even done. I mean, I'm halfway through, if that, my first year of overseas, and already it's just changed the way you think and how you solve problems. Like, just by like thinking about stuff, it's just like you become much more independent. 2, you just like, you know what, like you said, like we mentioned earlier in the podcast, you just got to roll the punches. And like 3, you just like expect the unexpected, and whatever happens, it's gonna be an awesome story. So I just keep that in mind whenever I'm in like a crazy situation, because I've been in so many freaking crazy situations here. It changed the way you look at on life, or just outlook on everything. I think we always talk about, we mention this every podcast, how grateful we are about that. and just how you change.
Yeah, we definitely do.
But Micah, I know Micah, we were talking about this last night. I think you can bring this up better than I can about the Hawaiian identity.
Oh,
and how
Gage wanted to bring this up, and
I did.
Like I posted something on Instagram yesterday.
Nope,
I think
I saw it.
And,
I looked at the post and everything, Bryce. Yeah.
Yeah. And Gage like reached out to me like late at night and just like blowing me up with voice messages. I'm like,
whoa, you started with the voice messages and then I responded.
No, I did not.
Dude,
no,
yes,
I
you
did
did.
not.
I was all right. Continue talking about this. I'll show you the
Okay,
receipts.
Go look. And I was like, oh, bro, this guy's interested in this. So, and then he's like, we should ask Micah about it. So for people that haven't obviously seen the Instagram, it was being born in Hawaii doesn't make you Hawaiian.
First voice message to Micah right there. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I cut you off.
Was it really?
Micah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's you.
Touche. I think there was like 3 of them. Being born in Hawaii doesn't make you Hawaiian.
Yep.
Living in Hawaii doesn't make you
Living in
Hawaiian.
Hawaii for 10 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Doesn't qualify you as Hawaiian.
I was waiting for the living in Hawaii for 4 years doesn't make you Hawaiian. I was gonna tag Hawaii men's volleyball, but they never gave me the opportunity. They never gave me bro. Would have been a alley oop right there. And then, and I sent that. I think Stein Van Tilburg reached out to me, and I was like, bro, I was waiting for the 4 years for you. You lucky. But Gage, I guess you kind of have more of the curiosity behind it. I just had posted it because it was something that
this is what me and Micah got talking about last night. Obviously, well, Micah, we can get into it in a little here. Micah also bringing. He's like also, you said that you were Micah. I'm just gonna say Micah Ma'a. You were talking about how, like, especially last night, you were saying how it's in the volleyball community now. But we'll get in that in a second. We'll just kind of lay out the basics here. So what we were talking about last night he gave me an example. For example, he knows these girls and what he finds or what you find are really, really annoying, and they're talking about how they're from Hawaii, but they're like, oh, leave our like island, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I was like, do you have a problem with when they say our? Do you have a problem, or just when they're just like saying, hey, leave Hawaii? Like, is it only when they speak about our island, it belongs to them as well? Is that where the trigger lies, or is it just them just being annoying and just saying all this? Because Mike made a good point, because although it may not be first generation, but they moved here too and everything like that, because I know a lot of people are moving to Hawaii now. So I just kind of
that's a very specific question.
That's
we
true.
should maybe start a little bit more broad. And just where like I'm sure Mike.
I have an answer to that.
Okay. Oh, perfect. Amazing. Yeah. Sorry. Go.
It's kind of off the cuff, but I think there's a difference between somebody's house or somebody's home and somebody's culture. So somebody can live there, and that can be considered home to somebody. And it's like my house. Like my physical house is wood, concrete, and a roof over my head. But it's my house. It's mine. But the culture, the Hawaiian culture, is that of Hawaiians and Native Hawaiian people. And so nobody is owning land, right? Like nobody actually owns land. Like you can have a paper that says you own land, but that's to what extent? Like we have created this idea of ownership. But I think a culture, like when people, once we get down to the basic of, and I'm sure we'll get to it later, of like, what makes someone Hawaiian? Well, my idea is you're Native Hawaiian. Your ancestry is connected to the culture and the kind of the birth of that island or that place.
Right.
And somebody can live there, somebody can inhabit it. So when somebody's saying, I don't know, our land or whatever, like, or our land, like, please don't mess up my favorite beach. Like it's not my beach, but it's my favorite beach. I don't know. I think I think it's a matter of semantics and just word usage. Because
Yeah,
when
for
it starts
sure.
to get
For
over
sure.
the top of that, then I think it's important to educate and also inform.
Yeah, I
That's
think
true.
it's tricky. I think it gets like Gagers asking for some examples, and I'm like, dude, it's like it's very much into the context of the situation. Like I know a lot of people that say anything and it doesn't have an effect and it's super okay, and then some people could say something and you're just like, bro, what are you saying? Anyways, yeah, I think in the volleyball world, Hawaii has such a larger place in our volleyball world than it does in a lot of other places. Like for example, basketball or I mean in American football we have a pretty solid place as well. But Hawaii has such a central part of volleyball history in America, I would say. So I feel like I'm running into this more and more and more. And it was something I just felt like I had to just share because I don't think most of the people that I run into don't know that Hawaii has a people, like there are native Hawaiians. I don't
Yeah.
think in the first place, like people don't really understand that in general. And that's something that is like crazy, but it's not because we're a small place and we have to know, like, have some humility in the fact that like not everyone's supposed to know about our history.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we don't know about theirs, so why would we expect them to know about ours? And so I definitely check myself to that. And when it's like me thinking, oh, you should know that, I definitely don't come from that place. But it's when it's like when I'm feeling a certain type of way and somebody's like, oh, like they say something, I'll just say like, oh yeah, that's not necessarily correct actually. And it just comes with like the labeling of people from Hawaii as Hawaiian, or maybe
That always bugged me.
like there's some other things that stand out and I'm trying to bring them up. What things, if you can think about them, stand out to you that you've run into in life and in the volleyball community as well?
I think a lot of it was labeling people from Hawaii as Hawaiian, and like just in general, like, oh, the Hawaiian team,
Right.
you know, like at JOs or whatever. And you have to, it was more of like what you said, it's more of a, I don't expect you, like some people literally didn't realize that there was electricity on the
Right.
island. And that's,
Right.
and I'm not that offended by that. Like, it's just, you just don't know, right?
Right.
To a certain extent, like, if you think I'm stupid, then that's another thing coming. But like, obviously, you see what I'm doing, you see what other people are doing from Hawaii. Let's put two and two together.
Right.
But I think just it's more about education in the fact of like, and informing those that being native Hawaiian is a culture. It's a cultural identity, and like that we are also an extremely proud people. And so when you don't get that right, and when you don't like, I guess we have respect for it, then that really can rub some people the wrong way. And so that's always bugged me a little bit, but not to the sense of I'm gonna scream at you and blah blah blah.
Yeah. It's
like,
never an anger thing. It's just like a little like, and you're just like, damn, like
let me educate
just a little
you, but it's at
yeah.
the same time, but it's like, how many times I gotta educate you?
Well, it's also crazy. I think you touched it on it. It's like, I think there's just such a pride thing. Like, I don't know very many cultures that have everyone has pride, but man, do we have some pride. And part of another slide on that post was like, when you label everybody from Hawaii Hawaiians, it erases the actual Hawaiians, because then now everyone's Hawaiian. So who are we then?
There's no other way to identify
Exactly. And that's like
a Hawaiian.
Right. And that's our strongest identity that we hold. And so when like, it's not like I was raised in Texas and like, so you're a Texan. It's not like that, because like I am.
Part.
Yeah. And I'm like, guys, like, cause I get it with the Worsleys. like everyone's like, oh, you're with the Hawaii boys, like the Hawaiians, and I'm like, I always just brush it off. I'm always like, yeah, we're all, just because I don't care. And then if I'm feeling some sort of way one time, like somebody's like, oh, and I'm like, bruh, they're from California, and they're like, oh, well, why are they? And I'm like, yeah, no worries, yeah. And they're like, where are you from? I'm like, I'm from Hawaii, and I'm also Hawaiian.
And I'm also
but I wouldn't like, I don't take it to that level because I'm not that kind of guy.
Yeah.
But like that's what I'm thinking in my head is like, but like that's, yeah. And I think we like you nailed it. We're very prideful.
I have a similar experience, but almost like to a harder degree to understand because Shoji brothers, right? It's like,
right.
Oh, you're always, it's the Hawaii boys, it's the Hawaiian, but okay, Hawaii boys, solid, we're good.
Right. Yeah, Hawaii boys for sure.
Oh, the Hawaiian boys. Oh, actually, let me help you out there.
Right.
Like Eric and Kavika, born in Hawaii, love Hawaiian culture, respect it, live it. But there is a sense of you don't, that's not part of your blood.
Yeah, blood.
Right. And so it's one thing to love and respect Hawaiian culture, which Hawaiian people absolutely love, and that's what Hawaii has become, and that's almost why there's like this
protection
mixing of like, but also like are you Hawaiian? Are you not? Like I can't tell. Like I have to legitimately ask you,
right,
and say what's your genealogy type deal, because so many people have not adopted Hawaiian culture, or not even Hawaiian culture, but the Hawaii style of living,
right,
and love it and respect it, and I think that's a wonderful compliment. I think that's an incredible deal, but it also can make it harder to distinguish, who is Native Hawaiian and who is not, and so that's where communication comes in, and that's where education also comes in, because I've been in that similar situation, right, with you and the Worsley brothers, or like me and the Shojis. It's like
right.
Like we are all from Hawaii, we're all born in Hawaii, but there's a little difference, and it doesn't make me better or worse. That's just there's just difference.
Right.
There's just a difference, and it's a proud culture, and obviously like coming from like going to Kamehameha, which is a private school where it's preference to Native Hawaiians, and so 100% of the kids there are Native Hawaiian, have some type of Native Hawaiian. There's so much, and Mike, I know you understand this. Even you went there for what, the 6th grade?
Yeah, just kindergarten 6, yeah.
Yeah, and then, but you understand this. But going there, you have like a sense of unity and a sense of pride, and like you also are educated quite a bit around Hawaiian culture and what it's about, and so there's so much instilled intrinsic pride in that. So when you hear these little things,
right.
You just kind of catches you just a little bit.
Totally.
And then it's patience, and then it's education and informing and love, but it's always like, let's have that respect, and let's have that recognition for a culture. Because what do you call everybody from Samoa or that lives in Samoa Samoans? No, you're respected as a culture because Samoa Joe, the wrestler or whatever, was like super popular, and you're like, oh, that's a culture. And so that's, even when I come over here overseas, they're like, oh, you're from Hawaii, and I'm like, yeah, I'm Hawaiian, and there's a language. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, there's no chance they would know that. No chance they would know that.
And they're like, what are you talking about? Like Samoan? Like you're Samoan? And I was like, no, like I'm Hawaiian.
But then you got to teach the Polynesian triangle, and then you're like,
triangle.
So then you're like, you guys like, you know how you guys are like European, like it's kind of like a family. Like we have kind of a similar thing with Polynesian, and so we are like cousins in a way. Like you guys are European, and our language, we are all of similar genealogy. But when you guys like moved like around in Europe, we moved around in the islands. So we have Samoa, and we can like basically for people, there's a triangle that's make believe. in the Pacific Ocean with New Zealand, Rapa Nui, and Hawaii are kind of the triangle, and then inside of it is Polynesia, which is Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, Tahiti, a lot of other islands. And Hawaii is the top of that triangle, and that is kind of like, in a sense, African or Asian or European. There's also Polynesian. And that's kind of our grouping. But that is like never, ever going to be known to really anyone besides people within it. I had a story that I told at UCLA where we had a lot of African-American kids on our team, and I was always hanging out with them. And I went and like jumped into this dance battle and was like dance battling. And then I came back and a friend of mine had another friend there who was in like this African-American club I was hanging out with. And she's like, man, look at this like white privilege, this white boy. And my teammate they know who I am, and they've seen my family, where I come from. And so they have a different understanding of me than this woman. And so he's like, bro, do you know, like, what do you think this guy's not the guy you want to like mess with this? And he's like, what do you think this guy is? She's like, white. And he's like, what else? And she went through every single ethnicity, like every time. And she was like, you're lying. Like, what is it? You're lying. And I'm like, and I was like, that's when you know you're a minority. When like, you couldn't guess my ethnicity and you're telling me I'm lying because in your mind, there's no possible other ethnicity I could be. And I'm Hawaiian. And she's like, Hawaiian? Like, what is, and I'm like, yeah, it's all good. Don't worry. It's all good. But that's like a story of just like, that sums up what we go through a little bit.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I strive not to do as well. Right. It's like, look at you, like you don't know nothing about our culture and this and that. Like you should be more educated, this and that. I'm like,
yeah, look, I don't want to take that.
You to.
Right.
And I don't, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, but I'm going to teach you it once. Don't make the mistake twice.
That's even like the most I've ever had to like, and I even was like telling it to her politely. I'm like, hey, like, that's when you know it's, and I said it like jokingly, but like, I get we're the smallest, like nobody should know. I get that. Like why are you gonna know about Hawaii if you're from Kentucky? Like they're not gonna teach you about it. Like we're tiny, and I'm not gonna expect anyone to know about it. So, but there's also that.
But just so that people understand, there is a long culture and history associated with Hawaii and associated with Hawaii in the United States as well. Mm-hmm. And a lot of dismay and a lot of wrongdoing had been done towards Hawaiian culture. And so that is where some of that pride, but also some of that disdain can come from. And so a lot of what's preached in Hawaii, in my experience, is one of the biggest things is respect. And you're taught to respect elders, you're taught to respect your peers, you're taught to respect the land and the sea and everything that around you. And not most of all, but especially cultures. Like you grow up just surrounded by people with different backgrounds and ethnicities, and everybody knows them. It's hilarious because growing up in Hawaii, it's like, oh, I'm 1/32 Irish, 1/16 German, and everybody rattles it off.
Yeah. Everybody knows them.
2.5%. And then you come to California or whatever. I come to school. I'm like, what are you? Well, I'm like German, Swiss. I'm like, how much? I don't know. And so
it's so true. That's such a Hawaii culture thing.
It's a Hawaii thing that you know when you know you're from Hawaii, like those kind of like memes or whatever.
Right.
I think respect is a huge deal in Hawaii. And so whether it be cultures, whether it be all of these things. And so when that sometimes isn't reciprocated, that can be taken in a certain type of way that is not as friendly. But it's also our job to be respectful and say, like I don't necessarily expect you to know everything, but let's respect the culture and respect where the history and all of the things that this Hawaiian people have been through and are going to do, honestly.
The last part of this, because I just remembered this. Eric just, like, last week had sent me a TikTok of a college. Did he send this to you? The college doing the
TikTok.
Hawaii night. And it was just like grass skirts and like coconut bras, and like they're dancing to, I don't know, some Lilo and Stitch song and something like that. And he sent it to me and he's like, bro, is this like, I'm like, dude, because he remembered I had posted something about the AVP had done something like this where they invite someone in from the crowd and like put on like grass skirt and whatever, the stereotypical hula. I don't even know where it comes from, but and then they like dance hula in front of the whole crowd, and then people like laugh and like vote for the funniest one. And I was like, just imagine, like, Eric, just imagine if they were to put on an African headdress and dress as an African and do like a tribe dance in front of everyone, and everyone's laughing and voting for like the funniest one. How
Like
do you
the
think?
stupidest one,
I think that
basically.
I think the AVP would be shut down as a company. Like
Canceled, bro.
that would be done. And like this school, the coach would be fired if she had their women's volleyball team dancing in African tribe clothing and like dancing around like what they think an African dance would look like. It'd be over. And at UCLA, we had a Hawaii night for the men's basketball. It was just like so ridiculous. It was like, I've never seen something this bad. And I was just like, how are they getting away with this? Like, I'm not going to say anything because I'm not that guy, but I'm just like, in my head, I'm just like, dude. And you guys are over here like canceling, like getting people fired for like the most minor comment on, I don't know, whatever politics there is. And we're like doing this and there's like 10,000 people in attendance and like nobody's going to bat an eye at this.
Yeah.
So
I think
kinda,
it's context. Yeah. It's just, it's context is different in every situation. Right now, that particular political climate is like super hot, right? And so there's like these little triggers, bro. You flip that switch, gone.
Yeah.
No coming back from it.
Yeah.
Even if you flip that switch 10 to 12 years ago on Twitter.
Yeah, they'll find you.
They'll find you.
They'll find you.
So I think it's just different, you know, like even in Hawaii, we have luau's that perpetuate that as well, right? You know, with tourists and this and that. And
shout out Tuitu Leto. Go see him. Go see our good friend Tuitu Leto.
Go see him, aka the Cookie Man. But no, but anyway, it's contextual. So like obviously tourism is such a huge economic thing in Hawaii that's not a necessity, but it's a thing that people do to make it and get by. And so, you know, to each their own, but there's a level of respect that I think everybody should give.
Yeah. So what's your guys' opinion on so as obviously as a California coming into Hawaii men's volleyball and everything, the big thing that, I mean, we don't have, I guess, Chad Giesman, he's from Hawaii. I don't think he's actually Hawaiian though. I'm not sure. I haven't asked him. But well, how do you guys think? Because like the big thing there is like representing Hawaii, the culture, et cetera, et cetera. What's your guys' opinion on Hawaii men's volleyball? Do you think they represent it? Do they piss you off, or just what are your overall feelings on? I mean, don't hold back at all, because like just because I'm a member or was a member doesn't mean I want to hear you guys' honest opinion about this.
Micah? What you laughing at, Mike?
You're the guest, Mike. You're the guest, Mike.
What you talking about? Go ahead.
We're having you on here. We got to know your opinion.
Have you talked about this before?
No, we've never talked about this.
Okay, but I want to hear it. No. I actually want to hear it.
I mean, some of my more confrontational experiences with on the college men's volleyball court have come with men's volleyball. And a lot of that is rooted in the conversation that we're having. There was one time where I'm not naming any names, where came to California, and I think Kupono's told this before because Kupono was there. and UH volleyball player started talking trash, non-Hawaiian, not from Hawaii, started talking trash because one of our players that was from Hawaii got subbed out, taken out of the game because for a myriad of reasons, but whatever, I don't know which one it was, but not for a positive one. And started talking like, oh yeah, there goes one local boy or something like that. And that I flipped the switch because you're in a moment, you're in a competitive moment, you're in the arena to battle.
And for those that don't know, Micah, I feel like even in high school, it was chippy. Micah was like a chippier guy, like that people didn't really know that is chippy. This guy was, and in college, like this guy was a little chippy, bro. I remember when he used to, yeah, never mind. Continue your story.
No. I mean, it's the truth, and I'm not like running from it, but yeah, that stuff. There's certain things that I don't let fly, and that stuff. If you cross a certain line with me, then you've crossed it, and there's no going back, and we're gonna talk about it, whether it be after the game or wherever you want to talk about it. We're gonna talk about it, however you want to talk about it. But and so that was that. To answer your question, Gage, it varies. It varies in terms from player to player, right? I think
totally.
A lot of players have incredible respect for the culture, that embrace the culture, that love to even perpetuate the culture, right? Like you can represent Hawaii as a state and even as a culture everywhere you go. And I think that's a wonderful thing that UH men's volleyball can do. But I also think that it's important to have some education of Hawaiian culture, of what is and what isn't, I don't want to say acceptable, but I can't think of a word, like more encouraged by maybe the Hawaiian people of, let's not get this facade that all of a sudden you're Native Hawaiian now, or you've put in your hours to represent Hawaii in a certain way. And so I think there's a role that can be played that's wonderful. I think UH does that with a ton of their sports, that it's a role that you can take. But I think the understanding of that role of like, we represent Hawaii, we represent UH, but we don't necessarily represent the people of Hawaii because we just moved there 6 months ago. And so once I am able to understand the culture and really take it, like, look, I don't come to Russia and be like let's go, like like I love it, like I represent Zenica Kazan and all the people here and blah blah blah. Like I'm here trying to learn. I'm trying to respectfully, like, not ruffle any feathers, learn the language as little as I can, but like do it in a respectful way. And I think that has been executed by a ton of UH men's volleyball players and UH athletes in general. Colt Brennan represented Hawaii super well, but never, I don't think, ever crossed the line. He understood his role and what he could do. And so there's certain situations. That situation that I talked about on the court was not one of my best, but also something that bothers me, of like all of a sudden you've assumed the role of the local boy from Hawaii, and now you're able to talk to guys that have spent, grown up and spent their whole lives there, and like almost talk down to somebody like that. Like we're a prideful people, and
that's what I have something I think,
and we're not
that
on
I
the same
think
level.
might sum it up too, is that, like, while you were talking, I was trying to think of my answer, and part of it was like humility is probably hand in hand with respect in Hawaii. Is the most important values that we have. And when a UH player that's not from Hawaii or isn't Hawaiian, like, when that limelight starts to be pointed at himself, instead of with humility of like, yeah, we play for UH and like we have a lot of great things, Hawaii's amazing. But once that like starts to like try and he is bigger than Hawaii or the place, or that he is the star of the show, and like starts making things more about that person or that individual than the culture itself, or then that's when I kind of like, that's I think when it starts to irk me a little bit, when like somebody thinks that they are bigger than they are, and like it starts to have, when there's a lack of humility. Like if you do it with humility, I think Cole Brennan was like, he's a pretty soft-spoken guy. Like he was never, with his actions he wasn't, but like I feel like he was always like pretty cool and humble dude, but he was a baller. And like there was no Hawaii like when Cole Brennan, Jason Rivers, Devon Bess, CJ Hawthorne, those guys are running the show. There was no Hawaii like that. Like every house had a Hawaii flag. And game time, there was nobody out. Like that was, man, RIP to Cole Brennan. He changed Hawaii for like he made Hawaii boys see a Hawaii that we didn't know existed.
Yup,
and he's pretty special.
And where's he from?
Yeah, and he's from Cali.
And so
Cali or Nevada or something like that.
I don't know, but that's a role that was assumed by him that brought so much like, not only exposure, but also hope and an example to Hawaiian boys and girls.
Yeah. That guy is like gotta be one of the best. Bro, one of the best freaking Hawaii athletes
for our generation.
Like, yeah, like it was gnarly how big of an impact he had.
Bro, I think I still have some All-State Sugar Bowl T-shirts.
Bro, I can't. Bro, how you rocking that, bro? That was tough. That was the toughest. I don't want to watch. I want to wear the UW shirt where we came back. I was like, bro,
the Sugar Bowl wasn't.
The Sugar Bowl wasn't our finest moment. Our O-line.
Was it Georgia? It was Georgia, right?
Georgia.
Yeah, it was Georgia.
Going up to the Sugar Bowl, finest moment.
Oh yeah, we were
when that game
feeling
started,
ourselves. We're like, SEC boys, you guys gotta get some cracks. And then it was like, oh wow, this is different level.
These are men.
Oh wow. Okay, got it. We'll come back home.
I think he's a pretty good example for me of like the right way to do it, you know?
Oh yeah, he's one of the best.
There are wrong ways to do it, but it's all a learning process, right? And so, for me, it's more important to educate people about it rather than demean people or like judge people on it. Because I think once people understand, they have this like incredible respect and humility, like you said, Mike, about it. But I think it does take time. It's not easy to go to Hawaii for 1 year and be like, I get it. Like I think it's very impossible. So it takes some time and it takes some immersion.
On this topic, bringing it back to volleyball, we talked about the 4-man. Mm-hmm. We've been talking about the 4-man a little bit. It's my favorite. It's my favorite version of volleyball. Fours beach. I've been playing it. I played it all summer. It's incredible. So the McKibbins put on an incredible show. Like what they're doing is so sick. They're really good people. I like them a lot. And then, so what? Oh, that also brings up another thing we talked about in this podcast, but I didn't even remember this. Is Taylor Shander is on that Hawaii team.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going there. I was gonna say, who's your pick for your 4-man? You can't have anyone that's played or was a part of that event from Hawaii.
That's a part of that. That was a part of that event. I can't choose.
Right. So we have to go in there with a new 4 and try and take down.
I think we win.
Well, who are you choosing?
Everyone.
Who do you think?
You said from Hawaii?
Yeah, from Hawaii. That's the issue. And then I want another one where it doesn't have to be from Hawaii. It could be from the indoor, anywhere. I want to see who you.
At any point or right now?
I'm thinking right now. Yikes.
Okay.
But at any point would be sick too. You're gonna make 3 teams. You're making a Hawaii all time.
Tony
Ching. Bro, my dad has some good Tony Ching stories from Kamehameha because
Yeah,
He
bro.
was his coach,
I
rather.
played with Tony at the end of his career.
Bro.
At Outrigger. Okay, anyway.
Hammer.
Me and you.
Okay.
Me and you.
Yup. Running them.
I think we might be the top 2 picks.
Hey,
And then
let's
maybe,
go.
I think maybe Kavika and Eric.
We need some attacking though. G.
I know, that's
so
the-
Kavika.
that's the hard
So
part.
Kavika sets. Then you're saying.
What about
And
Taylor
you would
Graf?
be attacking.
Yeah.
He's
Taylor-
playing.
Taylor-
Oh, are you saying those guys are excluded? Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we have to
yeah.
try and
We
go.
have to- we have to
Dude, we're
play
the
against-
challengers.
We have to play.
Hawaii
Right.
versus Hawaii. I like it.
Oh, but Madison is hurt. Right, like
Yeah, Madison.
I'm
yeah,
taking that.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
taking Madison and Riley into consideration of being at the tournament. Right, They're
Right. I
they're
was
out
too in
of-
my mind. In
they're
my mind, I
out
was
of,
too.
Contention.
I was trying to think of some OGs that we. I'm trying to think of anybody holding it down.
Not right now. There's nobody right now.
Yeah, we would be struggling from an attacking standpoint.
Yeah. I think it'd be tough because
It would be
Taylor,
tough.
but Taylor doesn't count. Taylor's just the darkest guy there, and they didn't have another Hawaii
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. Well, how did he get in there? He should be on Team Cali.
Well, they don't have another Hawaii guy.
Okay.
They don't have
They got to
another
put someone
person
else other
that
than
could be
Taylor
from
standing on that
Hawaii.
team now.
Yeah, that's a nice pickup. The
Well,
thing
he's
that
the only Polynesian.
Right, I was gonna say. So Gage was like, "Oh, but in my mind, and this is like another crazy part of it is like Taylor makes more sense to me for like being Maori and Tongan. You know where I'm going with this?
Okay. Ben.
Then like if somebody were to be like, I'm Hawaiian, like I'm Team Hawaii, like I'm Hawaiian, like that discussion is way more annoying to me than like Taylor being on Team Hawaii, because like to me there's more merit
Oh yeah, no. I think
than like a UH
yeah.
volleyball player being on Team Hawaii.
Oh,
I would
no.
rather have Taylor Sander be on it because he's blood.
That makes sense.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one for me.
But it would be tough. Yeah, it would be tough.
But,
But
yeah,
there's
I
less
think
there's
by
less
default-
irk. There's less irk to me.
yeah.
There's it's less. It doesn't sting as much. Yeah, it doesn't sting as much.
I think Taylor, yeah, being 2 types of Polynesian is, and having a lot of ties to Hawaii in terms of friends and spending a decent amount of time there is understandable, whatever. Like,
Right.
but let's be completely honest, they just didn't have another person from Hawaii to be there, so they had to find somebody.
Right, that makes sense.
And so
That's a nice find. Good find
not-
by them.
nice find for them.
That's a solid find.
Four-Man Beach is Taylor's like.
Yeah, it could be Taylor's
bro.
go-to
What about
too.
grass, though?
Yes,
Yeah.
dude. Taylor could be
Grass would be
Taylor's
stupid.
game. Yeah,
Grass would be stupid for Taylor. Like he
Yeah.
would be.
I think Taylor. Yeah,
Taylor-
Okay, so
Taylor's
now-
gonna succeed in a lot of things.
right. Yeah, in a lot of different versions of volleyball, Taylor will
He's
be
gonna succeed.
at the top. Okay, so from the indoor team now.
Playing beach?
No, playing Forest Beach against in that tournament.
Oh, some guys are gonna hate me if they see this, but TJ.
Yeah, that's a pick for us too. We think he's gonna be gnarly at Force.
Oh, he just hits the ball so hard, and the court's bigger.
And his beach game is
Yeah.
actually really good.
Oh, his beach game is ridiculous. It's crazy.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's
But
crazy.
like the thing is like you're hitting against a one-on-one block on basically an
the
indoor
same size court. Right.
So
No, he is an animal. He is the
ridiculous.
best. He's probably
Most
the best
people-
pickup.
Most people are going to succeed. I mean, I'm probably taking just pins,
Right.
but it's probably not going to be a right side pin.
Right.
Um,
The footwork might
It's just different.
That-
if you
that
haven't
quick-
played
that
beach
quick
growing up,
sand
if you haven't
move.
played
Yeah,
beach growing
yeah.
up, you can't.
it can
It's
look
very
really
hard to play
awkward.
beach.
You can look really great indoors, and it can look really, really bad.
You will
Like our UCLA
look really
volleyball
bad.
team looked trash on the beach. We did not look solid.
Everybody looks. Yeah.
I'm thinking G is probably.
I'm thinking Aaron
Because you need a
Russell.
left back defender as well.
Oh yeah, Aaron Russell. Yeah.
I think you just need physicality with force.
Yeah,
four-man,
yeah,
you
yeah,
just need
totally.
physicality.
You do.
Like,
You
that's
definitely do.
literally basically all you need.
Yeah, yeah,
And so, yeah, it's gonna be one of the pins.
yeah.
It's gonna be, yeah, me,
Aaron
you,
and TJ is
TJ,
a solid
and Aaron.
group. Yeah, I'm in there.
Me,
Dude,
you, TJ, and Aaron.
fours is the spot to be. That I can't believe. I think my dad. I've seen some footage of my. There used to be a 4-man tour, man. That's so.
No
I'm
way.
so freaking.
The McKibbins are trying to
dude.
get that going.
4-man tour, and the McKibbins are working on it. But my dad was on Team
be
Paul
hard.
Mitchell, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
or Team like Jose Cuervo. It's something like that.
Some big names.
But there were, yeah, it
Different
was
product.
a legitimate. It was a legitimate fours, like well run AVP.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun.
Tour.
It tailors to a specific player, right? So that'd be hard because you got other players that are gonna
Yeah,
be
it might.
twos.
You might have to have like a libero almost.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You need like
Just
a,
to,
that's
like,
why Garrett-
involve
that's why Garrett
some,
would be-
like-
you could have like left back, someone just more defensive oriented.
No, what I'm saying is it can't coincide with another season. Like it can't be at the same time.
Oh
as
yeah,
AVP.
for it to be super high level, it's going to be tough with
Because a lot of
AVP
people
indoor
are gonna be
and
choosing AVP or force
right,
tour, and so
yeah.
like a guy like Troy Field is going to go to the force, I think,
Yeah.
Over
he
AVP.
would be a star. Yeah.
because
He is Yeah. He was impressive in the fours. They do such sweet 4-man tournaments in Hermosa in the South Bay.
16th Street, baby.
Like 16th Street, 21st Street, they put together like I think there's like 4 or 5 during the summer that are like big and that are like super fun.
That'd be fun. I'd like
They're
that a lot.
They're really fun. I got to play in 2 of them this year because one of them I was
You
in
won
Hawaii.
him. You won one of them.
I lost to Chase in one of them, and it was like a barn burner, and then beat Chase in one of them.
I would set. I think I'd definitely set. I think I'd have fun setting. I was watching the McKibbins thing, and it's so interesting because like now I'm working on all these different things in indoor,
Yeah.
and you just like watching how the block would like. I feel like it would be.
It would be a fun little
Pretty easy.
puzzle to solve.
No, it'd be because it's 2 blockers on 3 guys, and you can play fast,
Right.
And all I have to do is like look for a second, and they're gonna be
Right.
basically in the same spot that.
Right. And it's sand. It's It's not like they're
Exactly.
gone.
Like you can't shuffle.
That is
out
very
and, like,
true.
Fly out there.
That
So
is
like
very
I'm working
true.
I'm working a lot on like turning and looking to see where guys are at now, and sometimes they're in a total different spot than what I looked at in the beginning. But more often than not, they're there, and like that's a challenge in and of itself, and I think it's paying off for me right now. And so like seeing that and like taking that indoor like mindset there, it seems like it'd be fun.
Dang. Okay, so like the smallest bit of like actual useful information for our listeners if they're still hanging in there. So you're working on what are some things you're working on right now? Like obviously one of the best setters in the world. Where do you find ways to get better? Where you're now focusing on vision
A lot
across
of
the
different
net
things
or
to get better. Yeah, I'm just like tinkering with different things. I think vision across the net I've been working on for like the past year and a half of like
what are
taking
some
a look at
keys
the
to
block.
that?
It's got to be, for me right now, it's got to be a pass within the 3-meter line, the 10-foot line, and like a high enough pass. Because if it's
Your feet
any
have to
pass,
be
there's-
good.
Yeah. Because you're gonna take your eye off of the ball for a split second, and if you don't know where that ball's going, for sure you're gonna look real stupid.
Right.
So it's got to be high. It's got to be on your head. You're not moving too much. And then it's a look. And then it's a look and seeing like scouting whether a guy, some guys now are putting their hands to one side with some middle blockers, which means that they're loading to go this way. And so they can react back that way. And so they're like middle or back to the opposite.
Oh,
So, like, if
interesting.
I'm looking at that, or I'm just looking if I can just call gap, and I'm looking if they're stepping with it or not. And if they're not, it's too fast. It's too fast for you to get there. If you're not stepping, and if you are stepping, the back, it's too fast for you to get all the way back, unless you like in that little third of a second make that decision, the right decision. So,
Are you looking when the ball's at its apex, or when it's on the way down, or when it's on the way, like when the ball's coming to you? What's your timing like?
yeah, I think it's like I can't really pinpoint the exact time. I think it's like a certain time before it hits my hand. So like, how do I make more sense of that? Like, it's not always at its apex, or it's not always like a ball could be passed to the rafters, and I'm waiting for it to get. If there's 0.5 seconds before it gets to my hands, or 1 second before it gets to my hands, maybe that's when I'm looking.
Okay.
And so I have that 1 second to then readjust and make sure that I'm good.
Okay, that makes sense.
In the right spot.
Because different situations, it's not always going to be at the apex, or it's not always going to be.
Exactly.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
So there's like
and a lot
timing.
of it's right, and a lot of it is you're saying like the time that you're doing it, the footwork, and you're mostly looking at middles.
Yeah, mostly, but it can vary based on scouting report, like what I'm scouting on the game.
Nice.
And what the strengths and weaknesses of like different blockers are, but it's not like an every play thing too, right? It's like 3 to 4 times a set, 4 to 5 to 6 times a set, if I'm lucky, because how many perfect passes are you getting with the perfect height, with also like having the confidence to do something that you're working on in a game.
Totally.
So yeah, all of that stuff comes into the picture. But gosh, dude, I'm working on a lot of different things, and I don't think I'll ever stop doing that. I think that's kind of like what I'm addicted to.
Right.
And I couldn't come to practice with like a joy and like having fun if I wasn't working on something, because I'm not even here for it.
Right. How do you balance, like, I feel like sometimes in certain gyms that I've been in, there's an emphasis on working on stuff, and then you like start losing this competitiveness and this like understanding of like, dude, just win. Like, stop being like, we need to work on this, or like you're getting analytical, and then, but you're also like, because winning is a skill. So how do you balance like this, like, oh, but I'm working on this, and like trying to rationalize like, but we're losing, and like you're not making good decisions, or like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well,
in
if
a
we're
practice,
losing, I'm not doing none of that. Like, I'm trying to win. So like
priority.
And I think like having a little self-awareness too. Like, I've always been, I guess, let's say blessed, or like my nature is to compete and to win, and like to find ways to win and compete always. So I don't really have to focus on it so much. Like, it doesn't take a whole lot of my mental capacity, because it's just a natural thing for me. So more of my mental capacity is occupied by how am I getting better? What things am I getting better at? But if I'm not taking care of the competitive side, we're playing, and we're trying to win. And so it's always a balance, and it's always like, what parts of practice are designed to be competitive, and what parts of practice are designed to be tinkering times, or times to work. And if I feel like I don't get enough of that tinker time, then right now I'm setting 10 to 15 minutes before training every day, like while the other guys are warming up. Like, I'll come and warm up a little earlier, and I'll just set. Right. And so that also fills my cup a little bit with the tinkering time.
Yeah,
therefore, then therefore be free to let's go, and like,
totally.
I don't care how I get it done, but I'm gonna get it done.
Totally. Have you found that a lot of the most competitive volleyball players are setters, or is that something that is not necessarily the case?
That's a good question.
It just came to my mind because I think of like the most competitive people that I think of Joe Worsley. I think of like in the USA gym, I think of like you, Kavika, Thomas Jaschke's another guy. TJ can get there. I Obviously, everybody in the USA gym is like gnarly competitive and is a beast. Like Matt Anderson and Taylor and
That's super competitive.
Everybody is super competitive. But just certain competitives, I guess, stand out to me. I don't know if that makes sense. There's difference. There's some differences.
There's levels.
Bruno stands out to me, and like some other setters, but
yep. And there are others that. Sorry, I'm moving around. There are other setters that don't give that off at all to me, right? Like a Checo is like,
this
stoic.
Guy's just chilling,
just stoic, right? And it's not. Everybody shows and like kind of is animated in their own ways, and I think that can be labeled as competitive or not, and like and some people can. I think I hate to be cliche, but real recognize real, like
right.
when somebody's really doing it or just doing it because they saw it on a documentary and they saw Michael Jordan do it, so they have to say these words.
Right.
I found a lot of outside hitters are competitive, super competitive. I kind of like compare them to wide receivers a little bit in terms of like, I got to get mine. And when I get mine, it's like, I'm that guy.
Yeah.
Like, give me the ball.
Kind of like a shooting guard too.
Yeah.
They're kind of like that mid-size athletic, like I'm getting ballers.
Yeah. And I never think of it with setters because I don't directly compete against a setter. I directly compete against outside hitters and middle blockers in my mind. So I actually did go through a period where I was like, I'm gonna outset this person and whatnot. But at this point in my career, I'm blocking against outside hitters.
Right.
I'm serving against outside hitters and liberos, and I'm setting against middle blockers for the most part.
Right.
So that's where my competitive energy is going, and that's where I like recognize. And I have those little competitive, like individual, not even, there's no talk.
Right.
But like we get each other, you know.
Right.
I'm coming at you, you're coming at me, and this is fun.
100%.
Like, yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I'm glad we got into
Kind
a
of
little bit of value, a little bit of volleyball on a volleyball. But that's not really like, we're not that podcast that is the most informational.
True. We can get into
so
volleyball.
It kind of fits the mold. But
I have so many little thoughts about volleyball. It's crazy. I can't
even imagine. We're gonna have another one.
We have to have a 2.0 or
a little bit more disciplined.
Dude, yeah, absolutely. Whenever. I love talking volleyball. I could talk volleyball all day, every day, because I just think about little things. Want me to tell you what I was thinking this morning about volleyball?
For 100%.
Just shooting it at you. If I can serve hard in the seams in the middle and serve really precise on the lines, but a little softer, I'm going to mess people up.
That's true. Coming from a passer, I can... Not that you need me.
I've been noticing that too. The sidelines, you just got to be take a little off and be a little bit more precise, and they're lethal.
Dude, I don't even try to hit the sidelines far anymore. I'll roll one to like middle, like distance from the end line. It's not short, but it's like a snap.
Had some speed.
It's got speed, but it's
right.
Much
it's not loopy, but it's like
than what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And it's going to go directly to that spot, but by no means is it at 120 kilometers an hour.
Totally.
But your weight's not going that way, but you got to respect it. And once your weight distributes just a little bit that way, the heater in the seam, you're going to be late to.
For sure. Or you just hit. I always, when I'm super mad, bro, I'm coming like,
Yep.
You're not getting out of the way out of this. Like, I'm coming full blast, like straight at your head. And like they're just gonna be blown up.
And it's floating a little bit too. Like
At that point, it's like it's just junk coming their way, and you're just upset.
Yeah, I just have so many weird little like epiphany thoughts of like, I'm gonna try this, and I've been trying this particular thing for a little while, but I haven't really put it into words. And so I just have a
That's so
ton
sick.
of
Okay, hit us
little
with one more. Hit us with one more.
things.
That
Give
you
me a
can try and
subject.
muster up.
Give me a subject.
Setting. I'm curious about setting more than obviously.
Setting. I think jump setting is overrated. And I think I forced jump setting quite a bit in the early parts of my career, and a lot of people praised me for that. And a lot of people thought it was quite impressive. And now I'm finding a lot more that jump setting in service isn't as bad, but when you go into transition and counterattack, like it can be a real detriment, actually, jump setting and rushing in transition. And
I
so
like it.
taking time, I just see a bunch of people like trying to hustle to go jump set a ball. And it's like, what is that doing? Like, it's not really changing trajectory. It's not really giving you more power. It's definitely not giving you more precision if you're like running off the net and trying to jump set it. And I think people just force it sometimes when there's no need to. And I, myself included, probably the most guilty of all. And so that's something that's kind of one of the epiphanies I've had in the last like year or so that I've been working on.
How much are you looking into other setters and like other film, or are you just figuring this stuff out on your own? You're just like ignoring everyone else, you're trying to be yourself. Where does that balance come from? Like trying to be yourself, but maybe trying to learn from others and like that kind of stuff.
I think I have things that I take from others that help reset me to get back into certain things in my game. So if I'm struggling on a certain thing, I'll watch the Checo. Or if I'm struggling, if I'm thinking, how was I supposed to do this again? Or how do I think I should do this? I'll watch Bruno or Tonucci. Or like defense, I'll watch Bruno or whatever. Or the Checo, I'll watch his placement on the ball, on his hand placement on the ball of where he's taking it versus like on types of his head or whatever. Like I'll look at little things and pick and choose what I use in my game. But at the end of the day, all of these like technique and strategy things have come out of self-discovery and then studying others and then being like, oh, they do that. Or that's a version of what I'm doing. I'm curious of how they do that, and let's watch it. And I'm a very visual person and a visual learner. So I really enjoy seeing other people do things, or even myself. Like I'll watch video of myself quite a bit on practice the day before or the game before, whatever, just to remember what felt good and then see how it went when it felt good and confirm and like reaffirm what it looks like.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's a good answer.
We need to have you know how like Pat McAfee has like Aaron Rodgers on every week? We should have Mike on every other week or something like that.
Workshop.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Absolutely.
Volley thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, we could. The wheels are already rotating. But before we let you off here, I don't know if you saw our latest post or anything, Micah, or a couple posts ago, but this podcast, we actually recently are partnered and sponsored by Manscaped now. Are you familiar with Manscaped at all?
I saw that.
Yeah. So we were like,
guys,
we saw that, and they reached out, and we're like, this is like the perfect partnership. And they actually they sent us their new Lawnmower 4.0s, which is their new razor and everything. And I don't know how it is in Russia, but here in Bulgaria, they're obsessed with shaving everything and manscaping everything, the knuckles, everything like that. So like they always would get on me, and then I talked about this earlier in the intro. I would use the same razor for like my face, everywhere on my body, using the same razor. But then I started using the Lawnmower 4.0, and I was just like, oh my God. So I started cutting everywhere and just cut like hot butter, or not hot knife and butter. So I just started shaving everywhere. So I showed it to my team, and they're like, oh my, they like lost their mind that I showed up like this, and I actually manscaped without the same razor. And I also, another the weird thing is I don't know if you guys knew this. You guys are older than I am, but like I didn't change the razor blade on my thing for like a year. I was just like a traditional college kid. But then so I opened up the box and there's like 4 different razors, and I'm like, okay. So I started playing with everything, And if you guys are interested in that, anyone interested in that, use the promo code Volleyballs, get 20% off and free shipping. Micah, my man, thank you so much for hopping on the pod. We'll have you on here again and again and again as long as you're willing to, and we are very, very lucky to have you on as a guest, man.
Yeah,
thanks,
guys, I
Micah.
appreciate it, dude. It's always fun. It's always
Dude,
fun.
no,
Anytime.
we definitely appreciate it.
Always a pleasure having the Micah Christenson on. Just an awesome guy to just talk to and just pick the mind of volleyball and non-volleyball family life. Just an all-around role model to all those kids out there.
And boys, I'd just like to apologize, and I apologize to all the fans for not being there. It was an intense training session with my volleyball club, getting after it for this weekend. But I'm sure there was some very juicy information, and I was part of writing the script for all the topics being talked about. So I think I know about what you guys are talking about. But I do need to bring something up because I was thinking about it. It ties into having Micah on a little bit, setters. I think can all understand this. There's two things that I was thinking about this week that I know Micah is going to have a opinion on. One, people always compare the setting position to quarterbacks, and the more I've watched football and the more I've thought about the setting position, the more I disagree with that statement. Like comparing it to a quarterback, because quarterbacks really the ball is snapped in their hands every single time, and it's like directly in there. They don't have to move. They don't have to think about, okay, in this situation I get shifted this way, like what happens. You don't have to play defense. You don't have to transition. You don't have to. There's so many things that you don't have to do as a quarterback that you have to do as a setter to be an elite setter. Because nowadays, elite setters, you have to be able to serve the ball. You have to be able to be functional as a blocker because the offenses are just too dynamic. You have to be able to play defense. Like all these things that a quarterback in American football really doesn't have to think about. Really, they just have to think about, okay, they can sit there and think about my 7-step drop or whatever when I'm shotgun formation, like footwork for everything, and they can time everything out because everything is consistent every single time. Where in volleyball, like as a setter, you'll set a ball from a different location probably every single time in the set, and you can't it's not
That
the
is
same
very
type
true.
of mindset.
But
So I don't know why.
I would not say that setter isn't. I think a quarterback is one of the hardest positions.
Totally,
in all
it's
of
not
sports.
easy. No, yeah, it's not easy. But
The difference is that the defense, the schemes are just so complex, man. Like
Totally.
our defense that we go up against is pretty stationary in a sense. Like you have 3 blockers. They can move
Yeah.
a little and choose to commit and choose to go somewhere, things like that. But there's only so much they can throw at us. Whereas with blitzes and coverages and man-to-man and there's so much going on in football.
Totally.
Where I get that there's differences in we use our agility a little bit more than a traditional quarterback. Not just, Mike Vick and Lamar Jackson are obviously so agile and do things that quarterbacks don't normally do.
Totally.
And get into this agility thing that we kind of get where we're on the run making plays. I feel like they're on the run making plays too. But I get that it's always the same in a sense where the play is happening the same. Your pass is it'd be if the pass was always in the same spot for us. And then from there we get to take it and go do stuff.
Totally. The other thing is, I mean, it does happen depending on the scheme, but you can scheme in order to get certain guys open. Where in volleyball, if your best players you're in the middle or something, and there's passes aren't on target, you can't figure out ways to get that guy the ball. I don't. For sure there's similarities, but I don't think it's as similar as people.
There definitely are similarities.
People say it's basically the same thing, and the more I watch football and the more I thought about volleyball, I don't know. I was thinking about that this week a lot for some reason. It was weird.
I think it's just an analogy. You're the quarterback of the team because you decide a lot of things where the ball goes.
Yeah.
And you're kind of supposedly the boss.
And the other thing is, this ties directly into what you just said, is, dude, as a setter, it's crazy, when you guys aren't doing well, everybody wants the ball, how just how ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about this before on the podcast.
That's similar probably in football.
Dude, being a setter in those situations, it's bro. I didn't make that decision because I thought it was the worst decision for the team. It's not like
it's like I don't like decide if you have to hit line or angle.
Yeah,
Like,
that too.
Why are you deciding on where I set the ball? But also the amount of
There's so much judgment in every single action.
Oh
that I
yeah,
it's
oh
crazy.
my gosh, especially by the
Everybody has an
coaches
opinion.
Is like the coach is like, oh, like, and I'm like, if he would have hit the ball good, gotten a block out, you would have thought it was a great choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the Monday quarterback is huge for setters, but it's like the next play.
Exactly.
They're telling you like, oh, that was not a good. And I'm like, if it worked, it would have been a great play.
Yeah,
Did it,
exactly.
It didn't work.
It's like, dude, I remember there was one play we lost last night. It was a frustrating match. There's a couple things that happened, but we had we talked about before, like that their middles are super slow and that like overloading one side sometimes it's like troublesome, and not to do it. And like when I set this ball in the game, because I wanted to get Jordan the ball out middle. Audible in the middle, went to a shoot. I don't remember who it was. I wouldn't call him out anyways, like right now, because maybe after I'm play.
Legendary.
But middle audibles, and I wanted to get the middle on me to isolate Jordan because they had their setter front row. Or we audible to a shoot, so it's an overload situation. But I still felt in a good position where that their middle was gonna jump with our middle. I set it. Their middle jumps with our middle. Jordan is 1-on-1 and gets stuffed for it. And in the moment, I was like, frick, that's literally what we talked about, like, is not a good situation. But I was also thinking, I'm like, their middle isn't even up. So I thought about it later. Yeah. And I felt like I kind of got a little bit of shit for it. But after, I'm like, it was not, like, that bad.
Dude, that's me. When I watch film, it makes me feel so much better. Because in the game, I'm like, oh, I'm taking the blame for every single thing that ever could happen. And it's like then they serve an ace and their best server, and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have set that last ball.
Exactly.
Because then their best server would have been.
I think that all the time.
And then I'm like blaming myself that like we've shanked 10 balls in a row.
Exactly.
And I'm like, oh, that one time I got a good pass, I shouldn't have set our middle or something like that. Like you feel everything. And then
that's exactly how I feel.
You watch some film and you're like, it's not a terrible set. Like, it's not great, but it's not terrible. I'm okay with that. Like, and you start to feel a little bit better the more you watch your film.
Yeah. No, dude, I can't, like, that's exactly, and I told my coach that, that exact scenario. We got ace back-to-back, and our coach calls a timeout. I'm like, frick, that's my bad. I'm always like, he's like, no. He's like, no, I'm like, no, it definitely was my bad.
No, it's my bad, yeah. Like, three plays ago, I made this decision, and he would be off the line. No, 100%. And that's the kind of stuff that, like, you just have to live with as a setter. It's like...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No one else, like, even the people getting aced are like, oh, that was a good serve. Like, they're not even taking the blame for it. I'm taking the blame for, like, 8 plays ago.
Exactly.
But I just...
Exactly. Cruising.
Yeah, of course. Liberos are always cruising.
I was talking about how like the
C-ball, pass ball.
They just go over there digging, hitting lines, kind of mess around the corner while we're doing blocking.
All right, this is the last thing I'll say before we have to hop on, because this is, first of all, if you guys are listening to this, we want to give mad love to you guys because we're about, I know, look at that, Manscaped 4.0.
You know what we should do? We should give them a promo code for Manscaped. If they stayed this long,
dude.
If they stayed this long, because Micah stayed on for what, an hour and a half?
A little longer, probably.
Yeah. So if you stayed this long, what do we got from Gage?
VOLLEYBALLS. Volleyballs. That's what I got for you. 20% off, free worldwide shipping for Manscaped. Literally, go on the website and use it for anything. It doesn't matter. You want ball time? Dude, you want your balls smelling good too?
Chicks are telling me they're getting it for their boyfriend. Chicks are telling me they're getting it for their boyfriend. They're like, yo, he needs to be more toned up.
You guys didn't get it. I didn't get
everything.
Zana might have gotten that for me for Christmas because she hates. Oh, well, for my facial hair, she hates that I always have a beard. She probably, she would have definitely thought about it. It would have been really.
Like I said, I now Manscaped now. I used to be a bushly man, but now I'm calm, cool, and collected in all parts of my body in every way, shape, and form. And have I mentioned? I don't think I mentioned this. Okay, I'll be on a couple more things. I'll literally be on the airplane, and right, I have my travel bag with me, and all of a sudden, right, it goes like, and one time did it through security, and they're like, oh my, and then everyone like kind of like low key freaked out.
Big time.
And I was like, what is it? Or I'm on the plane and it happens. I'm like, what is it? I was like, damn it, it's my freaking razor. Now,
this doesn't do that.
Lawnmower 4.0 has secure auto lock, where that won't happen at all, which is great.
Jeez, dude, how did they think of this?
I know exactly, and it's wireless charging as well. It's got it all. You're
Oh
literally
my
like
God,
really
it's
like a
freaking
lightsaber.
iPhone.
Exactly. It's like you can make calls. Not you can't make calls.
It can, yeah.
Lawnmower 5.0.
It can call your Ubers.
Exactly.
The 5.0. Steve Jobs. R.I.P.
There you go.
You get this in the kit.
Exactly.
I wear these during the games, dude. Comfiest things to wear during the game. So comfy.
Comfiest. And below, you make it even more comfier when you manscape with the Lawnmower 4.0. Guys, thank you so much. This has been a long episode. This has been a fun episode. Things have changed now. Things are big time. With Manscaped, we are no longer just a podcast. We are a clean, calm, cool, collected podcast with nice-smelling balls. Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. This has been another episode presented by IYCHTH.